Welcome to the Awaken on Purpose podcast, where each week you'll receive insight, inspiration, and advice for aligning your mind, body, and spirit to achieve a fulfilled life and live your purpose with me, your host, Jennifer S4E4. You'll also hear from other leaders who share their inspirational stories and wisdom in living fulfilled, on purpose, and making an impact. If you're a mission-driven leader and you're passionate about learning and integrating all the things that empower you to live and lead a fulfilled, purpose-led life, this is the show for you. Hey everyone, I'm really excited to welcome as a guest to the show today, Dr. Laquore Meadows. From poverty to PhD, she is a visionary, dynamic leader and builder and the CEO and co-founder of Invest to Give LLC. I can't wait to have this conversation. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I am so delighted to be here.
I'm really happy to have you. Tell us more about, the work that you're doing and what inspired this amazing journey you've been on.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So again, thank you so much for the opportunity to be on your show today. I'm incredibly grateful. So thanks once again. So as you mentioned, my name is Dr. Laquore Meadows, and I am the CEO and co-founder of Invest to Give. So you asked me what inspired me, right? So my business is named Invest to Give for a purpose. So the whole purpose and the reason behind my business is because I aspire to both build and to leave a legacy that will someday be the answer to someone's prayers. And so I do that through helping people understand how to navigate the stock market in order to generate income as well as build wealth using the stock market to do that.
I love that so much. And we were chatting a bit before we hit record for our interview today, and I was sharing that, we cover a lot of topics on this show, but we don't talk about finances as much. So I'm really glad to have this conversation. The reality is that a lot of people have money stories.
Yeah.
And personally, money can be an amazing tool, right? When you're growing your wealth, you can also grow your impact.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What would be your top advice for someone who is just kind of getting started in the stock market?
Yes, absolutely. So I think that there are a couple of things that one can do to begin, but the most important thing of them all is to have a really good understanding of their most valuable asset. Now, a lot of times when I ask that question, when I'm teaching, people say, oh, it's my house, or it's my time, or it's my, they name all of these respective things. But I think what's most important is for us to really get a good grasp on ourselves. And having an understanding of who we are, whose we are, right? Also having an understanding of what is that North Star that we want to accomplish? What is it? What does that look like? Let's write it down, make it plain, and then we can map our way backwards with a strategy to help us to get there. Another thing that I encourage people to do as a first step of investing is really spend some time thinking about those money memories that they have. So all of us grew up in respective homes, right? With maybe mom, dad, could be grandparents, aunt, uncle. But while we were growing up, we learned some things about money, even if we didn't talk about it, right? We learned things through behaviors. So thinking about and really considering what were some of those money memories that you learned along the way and how those money memories impact your relationship with money today is incredibly important too. So first step is really understanding self. After that, then the next step is really taking an inventory again of that North Star and then determining what is the strategy to get there. And if the stock market is the thing, right, that will help you, then there's some more practical things that you can do after that. And I'm happy to share that too.
Okay, great. Yeah, let's dive a little deeper into the advice that you provided. So in terms of gaining a clearer sense of self, you're speaking my language because that's a lot of the work that I help that I work with other clients now, I believe that, God has placed each one of us here for a purpose. And
Absolutely.
um, the key to navigating our lives is really through having a clear sense of self. And I find that that is typically a combination of being clear on, what your values and beliefs are, and also um, what your gifts are, what you're naturally talented at, and pursuing that as a part of your career or having a business. What are your thoughts on that?
I agree with you 100%. 100%. I truly believe that the intersection of your passion and your proficiency, therein lies your purpose. So the intersection between your passion and your proficiency, therein lies your purpose. So absolutely, absolutely. I totally agree with you 100%. And I too am of the opinion, and one of the reasons why I created, so in addition to teaching people about the stock market, I have a whole like clothing line. It's called Chosen for More. Right. And so the whole goal behind that is to really, one, encourage conversations about investing among families and communities and so forth, but really is to speak volumes to all of us, to know that and confirm that we're chosen for more, right? We were uniquely chosen, uniquely designed to do a thing, right? And oftentimes there are barriers that come in our way to doing that. One of those barriers could be money, right? And that's one of the things that I help to remove. But the other is mindset too.
Mhm.
So how do we dig through some of those hurdles, if you will, not blockages, because we can remove them, but how do we overcome those hurdles in order to truly live our chosen lifestyle? So.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Something else that is of value to add here as well is when someone's reflecting on, what are their true beliefs and values, um, really looking at that uninfluenced by their relationship dynamics, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
What other people's values and beliefs are in their life. I've been in this place myself, earlier on in my growth path, and I find this with so many people I work with as well. Um, that we ultimately want to make everybody happy, right? And what happens is that, sometimes we can lose a bit of our sense of self,
Mhm.
on that pursuit. And the reality is that it's really not possible to make everybody happy. And that when you get clear on your sense of self, then you attract other like-minded people into your life, right? And so everything just kind of falls into place around that, I've found.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that it's also important to be intentional about making sure that you position yourself in the midst of people who share the aspirations that you do. Right? It's wonderful to have cheerleaders around you in order to help you to do a thing. Yeah. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's touch on money stories, because what you said earlier, right, that we learn things about money when we're younger from our parents or other people in our lives, and we have a tendency to carry that over into our adulthood. What would be your advice on someone maybe changing, a belief or something that they've learned about money to better serve them to achieve higher levels of success?
Absolutely. So I think it boils down to that question that often we hear is, what is your why? Right? What is your why? What are you striving for? And why are you striving for that thing? So I'll talk a little bit about my money memory. So I grew up in a household that was full of love, kisses, birthday parties, just lots of fun. However, I was also taught as a young child that being in debt was the American way of life.
Mhm.
So I grew up, thinking, okay, I was supposed to get a whole lot of credit cards. My mother and my aunt, they would actually compete with one another around like who had the most credit cards. But when it came to the part where I got older and my why was, I want to have a family. I want to have a home. I want to have nicer things, right, that I grew up with. That helped to lead me on my journey to begin to truly understand money and how money worked, right? I think that we're all taught as a society to grow up, go to school, get a job, make good money, but not really taught to make our money make money. And so my thing is, like, for example, when I think about the rules of investing, I think about Warren Buffett a lot. He's a value investor. So one of my investing strategies. And he talks about how the first rule to investing is to don't lose money. And he says the second rule is to refer to rule number one. Well, my rule to investing is to make your money make money. Okay. This is what Laquore Meadows says, right? So all day. So I think that that's something that we all need to be more intentional about. And as it relates to that why, right? If money will help you to accomplish that why for yourself, for your family, or the causes that you care most about, then I think that that can help us along that journey as well.
Something else I'm feeling guided to bring up around. So I wanted to also spend a little bit of time talking with you about maybe providing some advice for our listeners around investing in the stock market, but also, there's a lot of buzz out there about crypto and like NFTs. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I definitely think that. So I try to learn as much as I possibly can about anything, right? This new and buzzing, because you just never know what the opportunities are that exist there. So I think that if someone is interested in crypto, if someone is interested in NFTs, learn as much as you possibly can about the thing, right? 10 years ago, people thought folks that were investing in Bitcoin were crazy, right? Like, why are you investing in Bitcoin? But today, oh my goodness, those who have invested, they're sitting really pretty right now. So I think it's important for us to educate ourselves first and foremost. And then once we've educated ourselves, then we can make a better informed decision on whether or not that thing is something that we want to become involved in. So I personally am engaged in crypto. So I do have various crypto currencies. As far as the NFT game, so I'm not there yet, but I do have a lot of friends who are in that space, but I'm still in that learning process, seeking to understand a little bit more.
Awesome. I love what you said
Yeah.
about, the importance of getting educated on it.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, clarity is everything. What would be your advice for, you talk a lot about money making money. What would be your advice for someone who is maybe just getting started out or not as experienced in working with the stock market?
Yeah, so it goes back to what I just mentioned before, is really educating yourself, right? Learning this terminology, right? Spending some time listening to television stations like a CNBC or reading financial websites. I think that it's also really important to go, and if you decide the stock market is something that you want to do, is to open up a brokerage account. Open up one that has a simulated feature, like TD Ameritrade is one example. Their simulated feature, they have something called Thinkorswim, where you can actually trade and purchase securities in a simulator. So it's paper money. TradeStation is another one of them. So I think once you educate yourself on the process and understand the mechanics of buying and selling stock, but also understanding what are quality stocks to purchase, are ETFs, which are exchange traded funds, or index funds to purchase, then I think practicing is a really good next step too. And taking a class to teach you how to do all this would be helpful as well.
That's awesome advice. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I would love to go back a little bit because you mentioned your apparel company earlier. What inspired you to pursue that alongside what you're already doing?
Yes, absolutely. So, as I mentioned, it's really related to my money memories, right? And so, I did not grow up having conversations about investing around my dinner table. That was just not a topic, right? Ever. So, I decided that I wanted to change that for other families. And so one of the ways I can change that is through teaching classes, is through doing podcasts like this, is through being visible and talking about investing. But also, when I'm not able to be present, then I can create something, clothing, if you will, that has messages on them that will hopefully then inspire conversations to happen when I'm not in that space. And so you'll see with my clothing line, there's things that says like, for example, generational wealth builder, or it says something about it's the profits for me with a graphic. So there's different things to really cause people to like, okay, what does that mean? You know, and my goal is to then generate those conversations or encourage those conversations.
Yeah, and awareness is half the journey, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I just love that. I just love that concept so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. So in closing, what else are you feeling guided to bring forward?
Oh, I would say it's incredibly important to do something that my mentor says to me. Okay. He talks about this notion of be, do, and have,
Mhm.
right? And so as we think about next steps, as we think about getting engaged in the stock market or any investment for that matter, there's a reason why we aspire to do that, to have a certain thing, right? Whatever that thing may be. So my mentor talks about be, do, have, which is really aligned with becoming the person who can do the thing so that we can have what we desire to have. And so I just feel led to encourage everyone listening or watching to really focus on that first part, becoming the person, right? As you're becoming, you will be able to do, right? And ultimately, the reward of that process is having those things that you desire to have.
So
So,
so true and priceless advice. And in relation to that, part of that journey is making decisions based upon where you want to be versus where you are now, right?
absolutely, absolutely. Yes.
Well, Corey, I've loved our conversation so much. I could honestly talk to you for days. Your energy is really infectious, and I've enjoyed connecting with you. We're going to definitely include all your information in the show notes, but for whoever's listening, if someone wants to get in touch with you either about your apparel or the other work that you're doing, where would be the best place for them to go?
Absolutely. So there are two places. Three. One is my website, invest the number two give.com. That's my website. You can also find me on Instagram at invest the number two give. And then last but not least, I offer a monthly challenge to people who are interested in learning how to invest or trade on the stock market. And you can find that information by going to tradeyourpayday.com. Okay, and that's a monthly challenge, just 5 days. A lot of fun. We have a great time.
Yeah, sounds like it. That's so awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate you. And thank you just for everything that you're doing to make a difference.
Absolutely. The pleasure was all mine. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Awaken on Purpose podcast. Please visit me and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or at awakenonpurpose.com so you never miss an episode. To learn more about how you can achieve a fulfilled life, live your purpose, and make an impact as a mission-driven leader, visit me at jenniferspore.com